Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Well, back so soon I guess. I expected this video to take way longer to come out if I'm honest. Because essentially I'm back at work and thus I don't have the same time I do to do videos. Though then again, I should probably be in bed right now and I'm wasting all this time for YouTube, so I don't know. Maybe I will find a way to do it. I'm not sure if I can keep up weekly uploads, but we'll see about that. The real issue is if the inspiration ever draws out. But yeah. So what are we doing right now? Well, you read the title and can probably see with your eyes, unless you're blind, but then why you're watching YouTube. That I'm currently building a B&M Invert coaster, and as the title suggests, it's inspired by Montu, though I definitely have some inspiration taken from Mamba and Nemesis as well in there. Essentially, my idea for this park is that it started in 2008, and the reason I chose this date is because those is so the last B&M Old Gen Invert was built in 2007, so just before the financial crisis. And essentially, I really want to have some more old gen rides in there as well, because with B&M Inverts, I think I prefer the old gen ones to the new gen ones, because I really like the whips and the snaps that the old gen ones have. And I quite frankly don't think that the new gens are on the same level. I guess the drop of Banshee is seems very good and whippy, but other than that, I tend to prefer old gens, especially 0G rolls. This ride right here has 2 0G rolls on it, mainly because I think it's a really cool element. It also has 2 interlocking corkscrews, which I kind of ripped from Nemesis Inferno, which is a pretty bottom tier. Yeah, it's a pretty bottom tier invert coaster. Which it's still great. It's just that the other inverts are better, at least the ones that I've run. But I actually profiled the corkscrews around flat spins, so you get even more snaps. And of course I had to include the giant Montu Batwing in there, which we're going to theme later on. I really want this coaster to have a lot of terrain interaction and a lot of terrain elements. In total it ended up having 7 inversions, which is a good number to aim for, because that's the same Montu has, and modern B&M loopers typically have 7 inversions, if they're big. These include, so let's just run through the layout. First of all, it has a lift hill, it has a small pre-drop section, then pre-lift section, and then a pre-drop into a curved drop. Has a pretty snappy and forceful loop into, I guess it's a junior immelman, but reverse, maybe an overbank, but it has a snap to it, but it's not an inversion. That then goes into a big 0G roll, which then leads into the Batwing, which is a very forceful element. Then out of that you hop into the mid-course brake run, and from there you have another curved drop with some nice whip to it, especially since the trims are going to be off of the mid-course. And then you have your 2 interlocking flat spins connected with some nice low to the ground turns with deliver some nice positive G's, and maybe a little bit of floater airtime on the return trip to the second flat spin. Then you have a small dive through a tunnel with another smaller curve into another small floater pop, I guess, into another low banking turn. This section is really inspired by Mamba's ending, which has a lot of high G turns near the ground. Then it twists into the a second 0G roll of the ride, which is much closer to the ground and actually is going to fly over the queue line for the small wave swinger ride I'm building. And the main reason I wanted to build a wave swinger ride was because I really just wanted to call it Zambezi Swinger. Because this area right here is going to be Zimbabwe. I guess also maybe a little bit of Zambia, because this is really inspired by the Zambezi River, which runs on the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. I really wanted to start out with the an African section, because honestly you really have them underrepresented in theme parks, especially World Showcase ones, and you typically have one African section, and then it has some racially problematic depictions of ancient civilizations in it, let's just say it like that. I really wanted to have more of a positive outlook, and the reason I went for Zimbabwe was because the thing the country was named after, which is some walled structures they built. They are essentially as like housing. I think they look kind of cool. That could be like a cool setting for the Q language I'm later on going to build. Also, I really love like the Victoria Falls and the entire Zambezi River. But, of course, the main reason, I mean, this park is called Realm of the Dragons. Why have I chosen Zambezi River? Well, of course, because there's like a pretty famous like local dragon legends in there. I think the dragon itself is called like Nyami Nyami. I'm probably I butchered that one, didn't I? But essentially, it's like a goddess, it's like a big god for them. Essentially also like seen as like a protector of them, though that all like changed in like the 50s. What essentially happened is that under British colonial rule they wanted to they needed more power to power all the like industrializing nations there, and thus they built a giant hydroelectric dam on this small, or well, like this once small river called the Zambezi, which was located right in Kariba. Essentially, it created a giant lake that like flooded almost like all of the homes of like the native Tonga people. So, yeah, colonialism, right? Such a happy subject. And essentially, so what happened first of all is that the Tonga people like first of all started to believe that it was like kind of like the wrath of Nyami Nyami for like damming the river, and because like the mythological home of the creature was like very close to the actual dam, and also because, well, then later on what happened is that they just like believed that it probably has like gotten out of the earthly realm because they were hoping that the creature would essentially save them from like their homes getting completely destroyed for cheap electricity. Though one thing to mention, and which is also like a little bit, not really, but like a little bit inspired by the like theming of us, is that just like as they were building the dam, there was like a huge, like a not just millennia, like above millennia, like rare flooding event, which like saw like extremely strong floods, like completely halting progress and like even killing some workers in there. And this was like kind of seen, of course, as like the wrath of Nyami Nyami and all of that. I mean, like, I can't be too sad about that thing happening, considering that like this dam was probably like not a good thing, considering that they had screwed over the natives in order to like essentially power all of the colonialist farms and stuff they had there. Though yeah, I don't think the workers there were particularly profiting from that. So yeah, not the best event. Though what I did was I called this Invert Torrent. I mean, I just thought it was a good name. I workshopped it a little bit. I thought of some names like some more serious suggestions, and then some less serious ones like Skygush. Probably not that one. Yeah, I went for Torrent. I think it's like a cool, snappy name, like Torrent. I want all my rights to have like recognizable names in that manner. I don't want any like weak names. I want them all to stick out and also have good color schemes. But yeah, anyways, right now I'm just currently just finishing up the supports. I mean, it's mainly just busy work. I don't actually hate doing that or anything, actually. I quite enjoy it sometimes to just relax and just like grind away, just like placing supports everywhere, though can certainly get annoying, especially in tight spaces. But yeah. One of the things I am really like my goal kind of was to achieve was like a very like immersive ride, in the sense that you can barely see like the rest of it. Like I really want to hide the transfer track of this thing, which I'm going to do later on, I think like near the end of the episode. And also I want most of this coaster to like be very low to the ground, not really be visible, and like be like deep in this trench. I mean, it was a while back, but you saw me like place in the rolling river, right? Like the rafting ride, to kind of fake the like the Zambezi River, which of course this thing is themed around. In one spot, it is actually lower. Like it's lower than the like in one spot it goes low and then goes back up. I don't think it's too unrealistic, considering this is a theme park, so it can easily do that. It is not supposed to like be 100% realistic, since it's supposed to be like realistic from the theme park perspective. This wouldn't be an actual river. Oh, actually, stat-wise, I just remembered. This thing actually, like, in-game, it's the longest invert in the world. By like a few meters longer than Banshee. Though in-game, in lore-wise, I kind of wanted to just be like a few meters longer than Montu and be shorter than Banshee, because otherwise Banshee would probably have been like elongated in some part. But yeah, it's actually very like a big coaster, though. I like the feeling of it because it still has like a lot of low to the ground elements and actually has very fast pacing with all of the curves being like very low to the ground and everything. Oh yeah, for the like station building and the queue line, everything. What I'm doing is so it's very hard to find good reference images for architecture in Zimbabwe. Mainly because a lot of like colonialism has like destroyed most of it. Like there's some ruins, like the ruins of the Great Zimbabwe, and stuff like that you can inspiration from. There's a little bit of concept art online, and one of which is like the main inspiration for the station and everything. I have no idea if it's based on like anything like even remotely close to reality, if I'm honest. But I just took that one because in the end of the day, I really ran out of choices. It was either that or doing nothing at all, and I really didn't want to have like the Mali aesthetic that like Black Mamba has with like the big like I don't actually know what material it is. Is it like clay or something? Actually, I should probably know this. They're big like brown buildings with the pieces of like wood in the top. Those ones. Yeah, those ones. They're like Mali Empire, which is West Africa, and this is like South Africa, so they're like very different. Africa is a very, very diverse continent. Though we, of course, just don't realize it because of, well, the aftermath of colonialism essentially is destroying most of that stuff, which is really sad. Like, not just on like an interpersonal level, it's just sad that we lost so much like history, so much culture, so much like architecture. Just like everything just wiped out, and you can barely now find anything. I mean, even regarding like African dragons, like, let's be honest, I've seen so many people not even sure if there are even dragons in dragons in Africa, and like pretty much every civilization would like, oh yeah, what if what if snake was big and flying? So like they're pretty much representative in every culture. I mean, fucking Phantasialand has a fucking crocodile as the mascot for the African area. I'm not joking. They literally have a freaking crocodile among dragons. It's so dumb. I shouldn't get into Phantasialand. I hate the African section. Like, it looks beautiful, but it's also low-key racist. And I try to avoid that with this park. Anyways, getting back on track again. So you can just see me basically finishing off the last remaining parts of the like the Rockwork, essentially. Like, a lot of it is pretty much done. And what I went for is I used a lot of these like yellowish rocks, like these Glassdance rocks, because I think they're like a little closest to the reference images I found. But I also went for the deciduous rocks, like the black rocks, on the actual like riverbed, because the reference images I found, like a lot of those rocks were actually like very like wet, and I thought it was a very nice aesthetic, and I just sort of like copied them over. I'm mainly inspired by like the more narrow parts of the the Zambezi River, because of course the current like part where the I'm sorry. Where the dragon would have lived, like, essentially, is now completely flooded with that lake, so you pretty much can't get good reference images for that, though. The Batwing, like the area around this, is mostly inspired by the Victoria Falls, and because, like, I just want, like, a giant waterfall there, because I think it looks cool. But yeah, also it was kind of hard to, like, get good references for this Invert, actually, now. Like let's go back to coasters. Because I really wanted to have like the supports be like accurate to what B&M actually used, and the issue is that they like changed the support stylings multiple times in between. Like, they have like the original supports of like the very early gen ones, then they have like the new gen supports, and then I really want the in-between supports. Like, the issue is, like, with them you don't have like every support. Like, I can't find a good reference images for Corkscrew with like the mid-gen supports. But like a lot of it is like the same support structure that like Mamba has, which is like what I inspired it off by, because I wanted to get it relatively accurate. But yeah, so I mean, while we're like in the middle of things, I can also maybe like explain like the color scheme essentially. So my initial idea was to kind of like go for like either like a green or a blue combo. The very first idea was a like green track with like some like blue supports that either looked too close to Raptor or just didn't look good at all. And the main reason I wanted for green anyways was because I planned out my coasters and I thought I had too many blue tracks, and then in the end I realized I barely had any like blue coasters. So I again changed it back to blue because of like river colors. Sadly, there isn't like much like in terms of like colors you can really see like for the dragon itself. I mean, the only like real image you can see is like of a wooden statue, and which actually I think I'm going to recreate very soon. But for the supports I went with a brown. Initially I wanted like the green color, like this like kind of like darkest green. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm not good with like color names. But I just then went for like a brown color because I think it just looked better in the end of things, and I think that's like more important. It also like ties in the area more closer together because I like have a lot of more like brown colors, like or like more like tan sandy colors with the rocks. But I still wanted to have a lot of green in the entire area, which I think I achieved pretty well, I say myself. But yeah, oh yeah, right there what I built is I went for like an exit ramp for the mid-course, and I wanted it to exit through the backstage, but I still wanted to have like a small door in there to enter it from the like the brake run. And I also like built like a big box just before around the transfer track building, like the storage track. Because I didn't want it to be like visible, like it didn't like, of course it's still visible, but almost like not distinguishable from the walls itself. Of course that means that I can't theme the indoors of it because the rocks will stick in, but I mean that's just the price of the pay, and honestly like how often are you going to look into that? I mean it's always cool to include small details like that, but honestly like I'm honest with this episode I didn't even like properly like do like queue-line supports, queue-line fencing in the station itself, because I just figured that it wasn't worth the effort since you weren't going to look there anyways, and this episode is already like way too long. I wanted to keep it to 15 minutes, but I also wanted to finish coasters and want to work on new projects afterwards, so that kind of fought itself, and it's also like getting very late and I have to wake up at like 5 AM and it's like it's 1:30 AM almost. Oh well, let's wrap this up, alright? Yeah. Sadly, I just skipped over me building that small like wooden structure of like the dragon, which is actually so there's like a big I guess it's very small actually. Like this dragon statue made out of wood, which is like sitting right across like the big dam. Like I really like that statue, and it's like the only reference images you find of Nyaminya. So what I've heard is actually it's pronounced like Nyam Yummy or something, but I just can't do that. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just tired. I think that might be actually part of the reason. But yeah, for the queue line, I just quickly wanted to throw something together which looks good. I mean, in the end of the day, so probably not going to spend the most time like looking at the queue lines. It just has to look good from like a distance. And I just mainly wanted to focus on like the Zimbabwe itself with like a lot of like rock walls, and then add like some straw like roofs, like thatched roofs for shading. Of course, using straw roofs in this game, as you can probably like saw from like before, it's really annoying to do. Like honestly, I hate like doing like straw thatched roofs in this game because of like how annoying it is with like these big ass blocks that just intersect and then don't look right at all. But there really wasn't much to go off in terms of architecture otherwise, and then I just kind of went for it and I just like accept that it doesn't look quite right. But yeah. This is pretty much the end of the episode, so what are we going to do like right now is I'm going to like start with a small like fly-through of the entire area, and then I'm going to show you a quick POV as I like always tend to do, though this is of course a finished coaster. Park is actually still running pretty smoothly though. I added like 9,000 pieces in this episode, so let's see how well the park can keep up. Alright, let's go. So I'm quite happy with this coaster. I really actually like the layout of it. Obviously, I really had this good idea of the layout, and I really wanted to create this, especially like the turnaround elements, like essentially non-inverted reverse Unused. And also, I just love Zambezi Swinger, the name of this. Yeah, here see the statue by the way, and also the sign for Torrent. Yeah, the station still looks like a bit like unfinished though. What can you really do in that situation? I mean, it looks good enough in my opinion. I think that's what counts. So I'm just going to leave you with a quick POV, and then I'll be heading off. So see you then. I need to go to bed. Good night.